morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay. Why? Yeah.
I just cut myself in the full-length mirror. So you know how you're driving in the car and the sun? So I'm like all tanned here, part of my chest, and my legs are like glowing in the dark. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm gonna start driving upside down.
We're
Are we
fishing.
in the dark?
We're live.
Oh, we're live. I better be beating myself. Hello, everybody at home.
I meant to say that, you know.
I love it.
If you prefer the light on,
you don't mind people in class. We'll wait a couple.
yeah, you always need, you know, for the
And
parking.
Yeah, it's, oh my God, please. The parking is like insane. But you know what? Because we're small, I'm gonna get everybody to move. We're gonna get closer.
Yeah, guys, come on.
I know. Why are you back there? I don't stink.
And I had breakfast already, so I'm not gonna bite. So.
Oh, you're good, eh? How many espressos?
Why would you think I have espresso?
We brought you sugar.
No.
I have 3 bags of sugar in my cappuccino and 2 in my espresso, and I'm at
I
like
don't know how
I
she
drink a whole thing of it. Like I make the traditional Italian.
I don't know how she does it.
I drink it.
I don't know how you do it.
Well, you don't know, but you can see that I do it.
No.
I'm all.
Although espresso has less caffeine.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the
thank you, Michelle. Support me.
It's the taste. It is. It's the taste, right? Oh, I left one of your tags in my skirt.
Yeah. Well, use it, bring it back. It was a gift. It didn't work out.
Someone tried that yesterday, debate. It was actually common. She brings back the cash thing, doesn't get it's got stain.
Oh, come
It's
on.
wrinkled. This poor woman behind the cash. I actually felt so sorry for her. She's trying
If they
to
have-
say it, and they really can't.
They can't do anything. That's embarrassing.
So I worked in a boutique in Rome.
Yeah.
And the owner had all like high-end friends. And she comes in and she buys the beautiful dress. It was Givenchy. She buys the dress, spends a lot of money for a wedding, comes on the Wednesday and said, this was like the week before, comes the week after and says, I didn't go to the wedding. You know what? It was beautiful. It had like all these glitters.
I didn't go to the wedding.
I didn't go to the wedding. And then while her friend Claudia's like, oh, why didn't you go? And they're talking, they're already working on the exchange. I pull up her Facebook.
She's
And I was like, you gotta be, sorry, I can't swear we're live, but you gotta be kidding me.
Why not? I do.
And I'm like, yeah, but you're allowed, coach, I'm not.
Good for you.
I'm
I'm
like,
that's pretty bold.
So I
That
went,
is, yeah.
I went to the sister-in-law, and I'm like, and she's like,
What are you gonna do?
did you show her? Yeah, of course. Because I showed her because I didn't like her.
Yeah.
Because when she came in, before even saying I need this, she'd do this. And we were all wearing black uniforms, so there's no miracles, right? Unless you really did. So I was like, okay, you do. That's it. Like, so guys, don't become my enemies. No, I'm joking.
I love that film. I love it, honestly. Oh, so we're reading a little bit here, right?
Yeah, because
Now, who's online?
so online you have Catherine Craig. Yeah.
Is that?
Peggy Savenka. He's online.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning.
First of all,
You can't sit back there. We all got folks to move up, so if we have to move, you have to be up.
All right.
Did I tell you that's fair?
Right? That is fair. I'm just joking.
Oh,
I know.
You can sit wherever you want.
Yeah, oh, sure, why not?
Because I'm just gonna run the names, Michelle Corman.
Yeah.
I'm
Are they
joking.
here?
I'm
I
teasing you.
I was like,
Who's next?
Nicole's here.
Celeste,
Who's
Amir
Nicole?
also is
I'm
coming.
just kidding.
Amir.
Huh?
I just saw him.
Is
He's
Mo
coming.
here?
I mean, Amir didn't.
I
Amir
don't see
didn't.
Mo.
Is Mo here? Sir Mo?
It's Mo. Mo's in the house.
We're
Guys.
taking attendance.
Nowadays, we gotta be careful.
I'm
right?
not on the list.
Oh, I was like,
Okay. Well, we didn't hear that. We'll give you a name. Lisa. Can you be called
Lisa,
You wanna be Lisa for sure?
Sure, I'll be.
Lisa Rebecca. That will- Oh, that's your middle name, Rebecca.
Okay, well, sure, that works too.
All right, Brandon Gosser's not here.
Brandon is coming
He's
in.
downstairs.
Amir's on his way.
Yeah, Amir came in, he said.
Yeah, I saw.
And Adam Anderson's off and we'll pull him out now because he registered. And, yeah, so then,
Okay, so I don't know who's online.
yes, you have Craig Phillips, you have Catherine Balfour, and I can't remember the other name.
Okay.
Don't challenge me.
There you
Good
go.
morning, good
Hi,
morning.
good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. All right, everyone, enjoy your course.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Everything is going good. Thank you so much.
Morning.
Good morning. All right, do you prefer the light on or off?
You know what? I think
Well,
it's
that was
easier.
an odd question, but. Do you prefer-
Do we have a red light?
I gotta go. Just have some laughs, guys. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Coffee's fresh, ciao.
Anybody want to grab coffee or anything? Yeah, go over, make yourselves comfortable.
Sorry.
Is it ready?
Yeah, she just put a fresh pot.
Good.
That's why I say make sure.
Okay.
And me, I'm gonna sit down because I like when it's a nice quiet class. I'm gonna say, guys, come closer.
Where did you buy that shirt?
Winners,
Winners bracelet. Beautiful.
La Boutique Winner. La Boutique Winner. I'm not even shy to say like.
Why not? Why being shy?
I freaking love that place.
I was gonna say, what's wrong with Winners?
No, like, I don't care. You know, it's you know, some people are all about the label, and I couldn't care less.
Oh, no, I bought a very, very good leather brand purse for $70.
You know.
And then I saw that was online
Yeah, they have good
$400.
stuff. Okay, no, you guys have to come closer, not farther. Closer, come over here.
Love it.
I like my people close.
Somebody gonna sit here?
No, you're going to. How's it going?
Good, you?
Good. Okay, because I want everybody close because it's a small class and we learn better like that. So what I'm gonna do, yeah, sit wherever, whatever makes you feel, because I just want everybody right around me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start over here. If you can take one, please pass it around. And it's gonna be up here. It's gonna be up here. The lights are off so that everybody can see and the people at home can see. I just want to, yeah, you can do that nice and easy, okay. I wonder if I can do it from here. Yes, I can, okay.
I have one more.
I'm so jealous, you guys are like nice and casual, you know, shorter even. Are you? Good for you.
Are we?
It was kind of gross looking.
You know what it is? It's humid. And I think the pollution kind of traps everything in. Because the minute you go north, it doesn't matter that it's sweltering hot. Do you guys ever notice that? It's nice, thank you. It's actually nice when you go up north. And it doesn't matter how hot it is. But here, it's like everything is like so congested, it's kind of gross. You know? Like honest to goodness. Now, you know what I'm gonna do? Because I can't see my Michelle, can I bug you guys just to shift over
There
one?
you go. That's why the beginning want to sit there.
You should have right here.
Yes.
Chair. Like, and like,
You guys don't be jealous because she called me my mom, so don't be jealous, everyone.
oh, no, sorry, you can't come in because, now the circle is perfect, you can't come. Sister, you should even know better. Have a seat right there, please. Yeah, you should know me. You should know me by now. I'm gonna close these doors, guys, because then people come in and start making lunch and they don't bring it up for us. It's a little distracting. Like, I need to say that when I'm in the middle of a thought and then, thank you, Amir. And then someone comes in to make a coffee and stuff, right? They're like, oh, you're doing a class? I'm like, no, I just felt like hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all just decided to hang out in one location.
Yeah, just with everybody, you know? But that's how it goes. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? How are sales?
Good.
That's all.
Different.
Lisa's hot.
Oy, Lisa's are, yeah. This is the time, guys, to make sure you have like some good A lender, B lenders, and C lenders, and some loan sharks. Did I say that out loud?
You're being recorded.
Yes, I'm okay with that. But it's true, you gotta have. One thing I learned too, because sometimes deals are short by just like thousands, right? Get to know your lawyer. I know Greg Tucci has private investors that are willing to give mortgages to fill gaps. So if you're ever stuck, check with Greg Tucci. I like dealing with Rosanna Matza because she's his one of his senior clerks, and she's on the ball with stuff, so she'll get things done. Because often we're pressed for time, right? This is it's a big challenge. We gotta be careful with that, right? So yeah, it's a different market. It means we gotta sell. It's a little bit different than what we're used to, and it means that you have to have certain people at your fingertips. When it comes to that. Before I get started, because today we're going to be doing closing techniques. Today's more like a workshop, and I've got some cards here too. I'm going to turn this off so that then there's no distractions. But any questions about the market before we start? Because this is a nice opportunity if you don't always get a chance to come pop in, and maybe even collectively we can help each other out. Any questions about the market, any challenges? Everybody's on the ball, everybody's good? Good. And if you don't want to talk about it now, just send me an email at coachsandra@gmail.com. And you will see my email's on the back here. But I kept it nice and easy, coachsandra@gmail. Okay? So if you need it, oh, you didn't have fun. That's because you came in late. I'm kidding, I have to sass you otherwise it's not. Everybody's got a handout, right? Okay, fantastic. So, here's here. I just wanted to finish this. Lisa's not here, right? Still, okay. Okay. So today, like I said, is more of a workshop. All we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different closing techniques that are out there. Then we're going to have some discussion, because if you've got clients and you're wondering, oh, maybe I could apply that to this. I think it's important, to also take live examples and use it. Are you taking a photo of me?
Yes.
You're supposed to ask for
That's
permission.
why I was waiting for you to be like once.
Okay. So, as I was saying, Mo, are you taking a photo now? So as I was saying to you, class, stop it. So, what we're gonna do is take live situations or experiences that you had, and we're gonna apply it to this, okay? So without further ado, let me get this going. Here I am going to see if I can do it from here. I can't do it backwards, unfortunately, so. Here's the list here, and we're going to go through it together. So here's a whole bunch of closing techniques, guys. Can I get someone to read the first one? Opinions, count, close. Or do I have to volunteer someone?
Your voice is so beautiful.
Oh, you're so good. In that case, then please, could you say opinions, count, close? Thank you for that. That good compliment.
Flattery is work in
Go
this
right
case.
ahead, Sharon. Go right ahead.
I'll do
Please
it,
do
I'll
it.
do it, I'll do it.
Thanks.
You guys are right.
Adding the phrase, in your opinion, then question softens the reply if the customer has an objection. In your opinion, will this solve your problem? If the customer says no, it's an opinion, not a fact, and you can address this concern. This is a great trial close to use as the sales cycle progresses so that you don't encounter any surprises when it's time to wrap up the deal.
Right? Okay. So this is a close in which you're going to be, oh wow, they lowered this, they made it short for me. When it comes to closing, you're going to be looking at, I categorize it as 3 types, right? So soft close, the hard close, and then there's the close where you're gathering information, right? So, or not gathering their information, you're taking their hand and you're leading them, because people are not attempting to be difficult when they deal with us, right? They're just acting in their limited experience. To us, it sounds like they're being a-holes, okay? Or that they're challenging us. But that's not the truth. the truth of the matter is they are uncertain about the task at hand. And they're coming to us for that kind of leadership, okay? So depending on the situation, we're going to be applying the different closes. So for now, let me put it here. We've got the hard close, which is going right for the kill. We've got the soft close, which is gently edging them towards the hard close, okay? Or we're testing the water, right? So we're gently edging them. And then there's take their hand, as I call it. These are not any strategic names or anything. This is just stuff that I've come up with in my personal experience. You take their hand, okay? Because when they're afraid and they don't know, we're saying, okay, let's take a jump. Here's the cliff. There's a big empty space here, and there's the other side of the cliff. Just jump, jump. Oh, what's the matter with you? Just jump. I'm gonna jump. Good jump. Right? This is what we do, and they're like going, hey, I could fall. Look at all the clothes down here. I could crash and burn. Right? So we need to gently edge them. We need to take their hand before we can do a hard close. Now, guys, once upon a time, it was a lot easier to do what they call a hard close, because when I first started, we were gatekeepers of information. So we would arrive at a listing situation, we would arrive at an offer situation. We were like the doctor. Oh, the doctor's here with all the solutions. The doctor's here, you know, and they listened to everything that you had to say because you had that MLS book. Anybody who's been in the industry longer than me, you'll know that. But we didn't have, we had Trevision. That was when it first came out. But before that, we had all these paper books and stacks of books with all the listings in there. It was crazy. And so it was a little bit different, but we were gatekeepers of information. Today's that's not the case. And why are we no longer gatekeepers of information? Internet. Boy, everybody's an expert now. We self-diagnose ourselves all the time, right? Your finger hurt. Oh, I got a bruise here. You start self-diagnosing yourself. Eventually you figure out you've got leprosy. It's fantastic, But this is what we do, right? This is what we do. We're self-diagnosing on the system. And so are our clients, okay? So we need to be mindful of that. So doing a hard close is not as easy as it used to be, okay? So now going back to this, and Michelle, thank you for reading that. So your opinions count. That is a soft close. This is where you're still gathering information. This is a type of close that you would use because you still don't have all the details on the person. It is very difficult. If you know the person, it's a little bit easier, right? It's a little bit easier if you know the person, because then you can be point blank with them. Sorry, while you're on the phone, if you don't mind.
No, I'm not. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. And come sit somewhere close, please. So now, if you are, thank you very much. So sorry, I got a little distracted, guys. What was I saying? I'm getting old.
We're talking about knowing the person you're dealing with or not.
Exactly. When you know the person, when you know them, then you are. Hold on, I'll wait for you to settle. Now I can't see Memo again. I know you're just teasing.
Okay,
You missed
go
it.
sit over there.
You missed
You
it.
just
I'm
did
jealous
right
now.
Right
Sorry,
there.
Coach.
It was a joke this
These
morning.
classmates are jealous today.
Yes.
So
Yeah, stop it, Sandra.
I'll
I
come to your
can't
office
take it
later.
anymore.
Well, you're already close to me, so I see you. I don't have to say my Sharon is not close to me. You are. That was the joke before you came in. Okay. So the opinions close is you're getting their opinion on something, right? So now, has anybody had a situation where you have used that, or you could use it, or it's a difficult situation? So in your opinion, how would you close? In your opinion, what are your thoughts on this offer price? Or what's your opinion on the asking price of this property, right? What is your opinion if we go in firm, or what is your opinion, right?
Yeah.
Any other suggestions or examples? Looks like you're on the edge of one.
Yeah, in your opinion, if we ask about
having chatters at the same, over on top of the price or not.
Exactly, right? Even with commission, in your opinion, if I were to adjust my commission to blah, 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 how would you, think I would be able to market your property and get you top dollar? And, in your opinion, I'd love to hear your opinion about how I could do that. Like, use it wherever, okay? Remember, it's a soft close, you're edging them towards a harder close, and you're gathering information, okay? Pretty straightforward. Any questions about that? No? Pretty straightforward. Okay, I almost was reading from that list. Sharp angle close. Who would like to read that?
Your move.
Okay, my Mo, please
All
read
right.
it.
Sharp angle close. When the customer asks for a concession, whether it is price, delivery, or additional features, respond by asking, if I can do that for you today, will you authorize me to work on your behalf by signing these documents? This is an important closing question. If you agree without asking for close, then the customer has an open door to continue asking for concessions.
Okay, so here in this situation here, you're taking the lead. This is very much a hard close. Now, the example here is, if I can do that for you today, will you authorize me to work on your behalf by signing these documents, right? So that just is an example, but there's so many different ways that you can do that. I mean, you can even do it very casually. Like this weekend, I picked up a listing, and it was like the most easiest listing, because it's crazy. The guy shows me the property, and I said, oh yeah, that's a really nice place. It's one of his investments. I said, yeah, no, that's great. I love what you're doing. So you've done this here. It's a great location. He was sharing with me future development. I said, yeah, no, it's just a great location, a great property. And he said, and I'd like to list it for such and such price. I said, yeah, that's reasonable. All right, so I'll draw out the paperwork then. Done. Sharp angle close. Done. Right? Simple. And it was a very casual conversation. Sharp angle, any of these closes don't have to be, right? Because sometimes that's what we think we need to do, right, when we're closing. But sorry, Michelle, I didn't mean to just stare at you randomly like that.
I'm used to it.
Okay, good. Then I'll pick on you a little bit more and use as an example than the short class. Thank you. But often, closes are best when you are relaxed when you deliver them. Okay, that's the best thing, because they're going to read your body language. They're going to read your tone. And remember, does anybody know communication? What the breakdown of communication is? Like how much body language, how much tone of voice, how much we actually say.
It's like 10% words.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. It's actually 6% what we actually say. Isn't that crazy?
Because the rest is like interpretation, body language,
Body
tone.
language, exactly. Body language and tone are the majority. Do you ever see a couple of people talking and they don't speak the same language? Do you ever see that? And yet they understand each other? My grandmother, God bless her soul, she used to watch the soap operas. She didn't understand a word of English. Yet you would sit down, so I don't know what's happening on As the World Turns. She could tell you the whole story. She knew everything. No. Oh, Mac over there, and then this is what happened. She knew the whole thing. And clearly not because she understood what they were saying, but the body language, the emotions that went behind it, the tone of the voice, all of that, and she pieced things together. So the tone of your voice is about 20% of what gets communicated. 20%, pretty big. And then body language is 70% of what gets communicated. It's kind of interesting, eh? Body language. That's why when you're tired, don't ever, go make sure you go take, unless you can stop and make fun of yourself, you want to just say, don't look at me today, right? But you have to own it in that sense. But body language is 70% of what we communicate. Wow. So that's important when it comes to closing, so be mindful of that. The other thing too, when it comes to body language, and play with this when it comes to a regular conversation. So let's say so Adam, I'm Nadler, because this is Adam and that's Nadler. I'm just kidding. We're both Adam. So if you and I are having a conversation, right, and I want to convince you, our automatic would be to be like, okay, so in your opinion, right, like that's our automatic. Well, that's a little invasive, right? So when you want to be heard, don't lean in, okay? Lean back and say, you know, now they're in your opinion, blah, 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 right? It's a little more relaxed, a little more casual. Just doing that alone is enough to help you, okay? But now Adam is gonna start talking, so let's just go jibber jabber, yibber yabber.
Jibber jabber, yibber yabber.
Right, so now I wanna lean in, okay? Because now I'm interested in what he's saying. He is important to me, right? Even if it's absolute nonsense, which we never hear from our clients. No, they always speak the utmost intelligence with us. And they're always reasonable too. So if I want to listen, I'm leaning in, okay? If I want to deliver maybe something a little invasive, I'm leaning back, okay? So pay attention to just minor little things when you guys go in and close. Okay, so any questions about the sharp angle close? Just that's really going right for it. So, all right, I can do that for you, so let's get it done. Let's do it. All right, let's do an offer. Sounds good. Looks like you're ready for an offer, so let's do that. We'll put the paperwork together, okay? Hard close, you're taking the lead. All right, the next one, this one's one of my favorite ones. I've got it as assumptive close, if you have to do research on it. It's also known as the assumption close, okay? Assumptive and assumption, I don't know what the difference is, but I usually call it assumption. I'll read this just to keep it a little bit easier. If you have an established relationship with the customer and they respect your judgment, jot down the items they're considering on paper as they are discussing their needs. When the timing is right, put the paperwork in front of them, put an X on the signature, hand it to them and say, here, and then be quiet. The technique involves using a phrase or language that assumes the close is a done deal. For example, you could close with, which day would you like to see the property? Thursday evening or Saturday afternoon? Like you're assuming that conversation. The best way though to use that is also by listening to them, and you'll see in a moment we're going to talk about the ask, question, close. But when you're assuming the conversation, this is happening in so many ways, right? Assuming the conversation also means that you need to know what it is that you're closing. And this is true of anything and everything that we do in this business. You cannot close if we don't know, okay? Later we'll play a bit of a game and you guys will see that a little bit more clearly, okay? But I can't close them if I don't know what I'm doing. I can't close them if I don't have the thoughts of what it is that we're closing, okay? So having said that, jot down the notes, know what it is. Like for instance, someone only wants a home that has hardwood flooring, right? Because if their kids have allergies or they have allergies or whatever the case might be. So you show them a house and say, oh my God, this house is perfect for you, isn't it? I put 2 closes in there.
Yeah.
This, because I said, isn't it? That's a yes close. We'll talk about that in a second. But this house is perfect. We don't have to worry about allergies here. All right, we should move forward then. Let's move forward. Like, you're assuming that conversation. It's very important. On the listing end, when you're listing the property, you're walking through, oh, this is fantastic. You know what, when we put this property on MLS, I'm gonna mention that there's cornice molding, okay? So, and oh, the kitchen is gorgeous. What are these cabinets? Is this oak or is it maple? Oh, it's maple. Oh, you had it renovated by Paris Kitchen. Oh, my God, that's going on the listing. That's going on MLS. People need to know that. And when I'm negotiating a deal for you, how would you like me to handle your appliances? Would you like me to negotiate them as part of the deal? Right? How would you like me to negotiate them? You just assume that conversation. You're taking lead, totally taking lead. The assumption close, would you consider that to be a hard close, soft close, or taking their hand? It kind of is, right? But it's really a combination of all of them, right? Because sometimes you're taking their hand, sometimes you're doing a hard close, sometimes it's a soft close. This one here really is a combination of all 3. That's why it's one of my favorites, because you can throw it in at any given time and use it anytime, okay? Very important close. Don't ever forget that one. It's one of a realtor's very good friend. I'm going to jump for a moment to ask question close, only because it goes hand in hand with the assumption close, and then we'll talk about Ben Franklin. In case my age gets the better of me and I forget, please someone remind me and bring me back to the Ben Franklin close, okay? But ask a question close. Can someone read that for me?
must be careful stroking a porcupine. You must also be careful answering customer questions. When you prospect, ask questions like, does it come in red? Answer by tossing back the question. Would you like it in red? Their answer will give you a measure of depth of their interest and help you adjust your presentation appropriately.
So now I use the example of red because I don't want to narrow what it is that we're saying, because this can be used in so many things. So if I'm asking, does the pen come in red? The reply that you should be giving me is, would you like it to be in red? Not no. Oh, that's a hard close, girl, and you're not ready to close me.
No. I say if you ask this one, we should expect this one and this answer too. So
Right.
Don't go there.
Exactly. We don't go there unless we have the information. Would you like it in red? Because they could be asking the question because they don't want it in red, right? So I use a very basic. Now let's apply that to real estate, right? So what kind of question would they ask you in real estate?
This has happened to me too. For example, they say, oh, it's hardwood. It's like this color hardwood. I said, do you like it? And she said, no, I'm just okay. I said, you don't like it? No, I'm okay. It doesn't matter for me, the color or the. I just mentioned that it's hardwood. I cannot understand anything from that conversation that if she likes it or not, because she doesn't say, oh, okay, if you mention it, you mean something to say
So
that,
then,
right?
and then you can break it down. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So what she's saying is, the client said, is this floor hardwood? And your response was, yes, do you like hardwood flooring? And the client was saying, well, it doesn't matter to me, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you like the color of the hardwood? And the client said, well, I'm okay with it. So basically, when it comes to a question like that, your questions are too open-ended for that particular client. So you have to be more specific. Yes, this floor here is actually hardwood. They have engineered hardwood, they have laminate flooring, they have ceramic tile for this room here, or hardwood. Which floor do you prefer? Okay, and so that's when you go back to her. Well, which one would you prefer? Do you like hardwood? Do you prefer the engineered one? Do you prefer ceramic? And now you're guiding, okay, because you're taking their hand. She's not ready to be closed yet because she doesn't know herself. Then the color. Oh, you know what? The typical colors are the espresso, pine, washed oak, whatever the colors are. What colors do you prefer in a floor? Oh, I don't know. Well, what flooring do you have right now? Right? So keep asking until you get an answer. So that's actually a very good example. Anybody else? So flooring, right? You can see, keep asking questions, guys. All right? Any other questions? Does it have a finished basement? Right? Does it have 2-car garage, 3-car garage? Does it have, what else? There's so many.
Office, study.
Yeah, main floor office, right? What else? Close to a school.
Pool in the
A
backyard.
pool in the backyard. Yeah, walkout backyard or walkout.
Any school.
Yeah.
Where are you selling?
Thank you. You just communicated. This guy, exactly. Exactly. But these are all the questions. You're absolutely right, guys, right? And so the answer, and how would you answer when they ask you that?
So this is a must for your choose.
All of them are correct. Would you like a tennis court? Would you like a pool in the backyard? Would you like a finished basement? You know, is that important to you, right? Would you like? And that's where ask the question. Always ask questions, Okay, now I'm not gonna say any more about that because I wanna play the game. Some of you have played this game with me, some of you have not. And I would like someone to sell me a pen. Who can sell me a pen? I like the bewilderment on your faces, all right. I won't ask you to do it just yet. How's that? We'll get someone else to do it and I'll get you to do it maybe second. Who's gonna sell me a pen? Come on.
I said you okay.
Thank you. Sell me a pen, girl. I'm gonna take a sip of water while you sell me.
Okay, so we have several types of pens here. So first of all, let me know what type of pen would you like to have in your hands?
I don't know.
Look, when you want to write, you want it to be a thick line or thin line.
I like the thin line.
Nice. And how about the weight of the pen you'd like?
I want average weight. I don't want it too light. I don't want it too heavy. You know, I've got small hands, so yeah.
And you have beautiful hands. How often do you use this pen?
Every day. I love to write.
So you love to write and you want. Okay, so you want it to be just functional, or it was some sort of luxury pen?
I like luxury.
I see. If with all these that I'm jotting down.
Clearly, you can see how much I like
Yeah,
luxury.
it's beautiful. I can see that. Yeah, you have a great taste.
Thank
so,
you.
So with these things, look, Sandra, with all of the things you said, I can offer you this range of 4 pens.
Perfect.
Now let's try them one by one and see which one is closer to what you need.
Perfect. She closed me. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Very well done. Everybody, like that's how you do that best. Very well done. So now, anybody else want to, so that's a hard act to follow, but anyone else want to give it a go? Go for it, because this is, listen, here, we're gonna learn together, right? Like, I'd rather you guys feel a little bit awkward here as opposed to feeling awkward in front of a client. But let's play here in a safe place, right? All right, Sami.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi.
Okay, I would like to know what is the usage of the pen for you, and what is the budget and the quantity of the pen you need.
You are asking me way too many questions
Yeah.
all at once.
Yeah, okay.
I'm confused.
Okay.
I'm gonna just reply, I'm confused.
Okay, so first of all, tell me about your budget.
Oh, budget. You know what, I'm not too sure. It depends on the pen that I end up buying. I was hoping to pay blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so we
But if
have
I see value, if
Yeah,
I see
okay.
value, I might.
So I know approximately of the price for you. Okay, what is the usage of that pen? You want to give it as a gift, or you just want to use it for
Oh,
yourself?
I love it for myself. I use pens all the time. I take notes all the time.
Wonderful. So how many of them? You just want to buy one for yourself, or you want to?
I wouldn't mind having a few because good pens are hard to find.
Okay. There's a couple of pen I have here, which they are very luxury and nice, and the price is high. And a couple of them is just a regular pen. It's good. They are useful. They look good. And a little bit cheaper one, which it's depend on you which one do you like. I will show you this one. You can try it on the paper and see which one is more likely for you.
Okay, very good. And you know what? And excellent. Very well done. So let's give her a hand too. Awesome. Okay, see, that wasn't so bad, was it? Not bad. Ask questions. Go in depth. You know, what color are you looking for? Red, black, blue. But remember, you've got to lead them because they don't know. Remember, you started off, and I'm glad you started off that way because we do this. By asking all these questions, it's like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know the answer to the first one, let alone now I'm uncertain now. I have no idea what, right? So baby step it with your clients. And never, ever, ever offer information without them giving you information, right? So some people would say, oh, I've got this great pen right here, and this pen's beautiful. It's red, and I like that. It's a vibrant red, and this pen comes from Dubai, you know, and it's fantastic. So, you know, would you like to give it a try? We're too busy making statements, right? More often than not, this is what we do. Well, we've got to ask questions. When you ask questions, and keep asking, don't ever feel bad about asking questions. In our business, we have to ask questions that are uncomfortable, right? Would that be a fair statement, right? What would be considered an uncomfortable question in real estate? How much they can afford, right?
How much you make?
How much money do you make? Exactly.
credit.
What's your credit, right? So now we've got to ask these questions. How are we going to phrase that question so when we ask, it's not awkward? So Mo, you mentioned money. Ask me how much I want to spend on a home. How would you ask me?
All right. So, what is your price range for getting your desired home?
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. How much were you hoping to spend? That's another way, right?
So they're gonna give you from this amount to this amount.
Yes, exactly.
They're not gonna ask them the exact price.
Exactly. And now the next time, because now we got to find out, can I actually afford it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, oh my God. I remember one guy, and thank God I asked questions. He told me he was making $80,000 and that the combined income in their home was something like, oh, I can't remember, I'll just toss a number out there of like 150 or something like that. So he's an accountant and the wife is a medical technician. And meanwhile, what was happening was, yeah, the combined, the household income was about 150. What he neglected to tell me is that the wife was working 2 jobs. So the bulk of the income was coming from her because he didn't want to feel like such a loser, right? He was at home and the wife was working 2 jobs. She would go from one lab and then straight to another one, to come home, maybe sleep 2 hours, then start all over again. Yeah, it was horrible. I couldn't believe it. And what's that?
Good job.
Good job. Which choice? I'm gonna leave that one alone. Yeah, at this current time, the men are outnumbered in this room. So for your safety.
Happy wife, happy husband.
You mean overworked wife, happy husband. That's usually the case. But because you're outnumbered right now, we're going to.
They will switch.
We're going to, because I'm afraid I'm going to lose control of the room if we continue that conversation. A good one, Amir. I like that. But you know what? It's interesting. In asking the questions, I then learned that she was working 2 jobs, and he really didn't have anything to contribute. It was interesting. So asking the questions. So now we're attempting to figure out, can they actually afford it? How would you say that? What would you say to them? Can you afford it?
Oh my God.
Right? It's a bit difficult. How would you ask them?
I feel like they just walk away at that point.
No, I would ask them, you should talk to a mortgage broker. They're gonna guide you to have a mortgage.
Rewind you for a second, because now you're telling them what to do. Show of hands. Does anybody like being told what to do?
Yeah, because usually I'm telling them, sorry to interrupt you again, because I'm telling you, you don't want to put yourself in pressure for the payment.
I'm going to help you with the language. Okay, I'm going to help you with the language because you know what? And I thank you for your honesty, because whether we like it or not, this is what we're doing. Okay, this is the majority of us out there. And naturally and instinctively, we want to tell people what to do because we want to save them. We want to help them. Oh my God, no, the door is open right over there, but you're banging your head over here. No, I'm telling you, go over here. What you got to do is let them bang their head against the wall. When they get tired, they'll say, is there a better way out of here? And you'll say, yeah, it's right over there. If you give unsolicited, if you tell them, you're going to build resentment. Okay, that's the only thing. Again, it's based on the relationship that you have with the person too, right? But even so, you've got to be very, very cautious with what you're saying, what you're doing, okay? So what you would say is, and you're on the right track in saying, the way you would phrase it would be a little bit different. So have you spoken to a mortgage broker? You know, the mortgage laws have changed, and I have access, you know, to a number of mortgage brokers. Have you spoken to someone? They'll say yes or no. My strong recommendation would be for you to speak with a mortgage broker before. And I used to put a positive spin on it. Often my clients realize that they can afford more after speaking to a mortgage broker. And I would like you to have full information. This is where now that guiding part, because you know, I want you to, right? I like my clients when they, you know, when they come from a place of information, they can make better decisions for themselves. And that, would you like assistance with the mortgage? I can forward it and have a couple of my guys call you, and you can decide what would you prefer. Okay, always asking. Everything that you do is in ask mode. Okay, any questions about that?
We're asking questions. How do you get over that fear of I'm being too invasive?
I'm curious.
Because I get to that point where it's like, okay, I've asked like 7 questions in a row.
Yeah, and I use you have key phrases. That's a really good question. I have a key phrase like, I'm curious, blah, 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 right? So that's one. And then secondly, if I sound like the 20 questions, I'll say, I apologize if I sound like I'm interrogating you with 20 questions. As a responsible realtor, I just want to do a really good job for you, okay? Now here's the key, and I want you to keep this in the back of your head. we say in Italian, "Gorne," let me get my left knee out. "Gorne," 100 years good health to each of you, okay? Because I'm gonna word off. If you go to the doctor and you say, "Oh, you go to the doctor because you have a pain in your arm," again, "Gorne," 100 years good health to everybody here. If you go and do that, the doctor's gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions, right? And some of them are invasive, like, when was the last time you went to the bathroom? I remember one doctor as a kid that I had, Dr. Chocolate, God bless her. I don't know where she is right now. She had this big scarf, and I bring my sister to the doctor. And my sister and I, we were kids. We were like, kids. I'm still a kid. I think I might have been like 20 something, 21, 22 years old. I'm bringing my sister, who's 6 years younger, to the doctor, right? So my sister's not feeling well, and Dr. Chocolate with the big scarf. So, Patricia, when was the last time you pooped? And so I'm looking at my sister. We were just trying to hold it in. Like that's right. We were dying because the whole scene was funny. Dr. Chocolate didn't care. She had to ask an invasive question. Why?
She
For
can
the
help you
graphics.
without knowing the answers.
To diagnose.
More information, better solution.
Better solution, okay? You just answered, I don't have, okay, done, we're good. Nice to see everybody. Have a good day. Okay, because you guys get it, right? Done, class is done. The thing here is, if we don't know what we're doing, how can we close them? How can we lead them? How can we guide them if we don't have all the information? And yes, sometimes the questions are invasive. So if you sense that they're getting a little antsy, just say, "My apologies. I don't mean to sound like I'm interrogating you. As a responsible realtor, I just want to do a good job for you. I got to ask you a few questions." When you say that to someone, if someone said that to you, what would you say? "Oh, here, I'll give you, what do you want to need? The color of my undergarments? Here you go." They'll work with you because they appreciate, "Oh my God, this person cares. They're interested in me. They care. They have my best interest at heart." Right? So after that, you've gained their trust and that's it. Everything is okay after that. So be mindful, ask the questions, don't. If you don't ask questions, you are going to cause a misdiagnosis, and that, for you ladies and gentlemen, is malpractice. Okay? Malpractice. Has anybody gotten into a situation where they didn't ask enough questions, closed the person, and then got in trouble? Has anybody come across or come close? I know I have as a rookie, I did. Anybody? Yeah, I did. As a rookie, I made some mistakes. Yeah. You know, that same gentleman, the one that I was telling you guys where the wife was working 2 jobs, I asked him questions because he was the point of contact. I did not ask her because she's always working, right? I should have asked them both questions. What I did not know was that he had gotten himself involved in a pyramid scam back in India, and the wife did not know about it, and she was quietly paying off that debt because he told her it was something else. Now, maybe it was a good thing, that I didn't ask that question because I think that marriage would have been over. And this woman was working like a dog to put her 2 daughters through university, and she was happy. So, I mean, everything in retrospect it happened for all the right reasons. Having said that, though, I was super, super mindful of the home that I put them in. As soon as I saw certain things, I didn't say, "Oh, we need to afford a cheaper home." I said, "Guys, I found this property. It's such a good deal. And look, it's right in this area, right around the corner. We have to go for this. Look at this. This is a good deal." So I appealed to them on a different level because then I knew what was going on. But initially I didn't. I could have potentially gotten them into a home that they would not be able to afford. That's scary. That's scary. My intention was perfect. My intention would never be to put someone in a situation like that. But I could have accidentally put them in that situation. I almost accidentally put them in that situation because I made that rookie mistake of not asking everybody the right question. Okay? So be mindful of that. Don't feel bad. Okay? Don't feel bad. It happens. All right? Any questions about that? The ask question close is a realtor's best friend. If you want to be a good agent, actually better than a good agent, if you want to be a top agent, all you got to do is just ask questions. That's all you have to do. And then use the other techniques to guide and lead, guide and lead, guide and lead, okay? So ask, question, close is a realtor's best friend. Any question about that before I move on? Because that's so important.
No, that was great.
Thank you. Ben Franklin close. I didn't forget, guys. It's a good day. It's a good day. Ben Franklin is said to have made decisions by creating a list with 2 columns, pros and cons, and basing his choice on the longer column. This approach works well. Oh, pardon me, I emphasized that incorrectly. And basing his choice on the longer column. Okay, so you list the pros, you list the cons, whichever column is the longer one, that's the one you make the choice with. Okay, so this approach works well with analytical personalities. If you use it as a closing technique, just be sure to have a lot of benefits in the customer's pro column. If you're going to close them to purchasing, obviously, right? But though at the same time, though, I mean, I know that that's the statement that they want me to share with you based on the description of that close. But I gotta talk to you realtor to realtor. If they like a home and the list of the pros, of the cons is too long versus the list of the pros, it's okay to say that to the client. It's totally fine. In my rookie years, one of my first clients, my broker, was at the time I started off with NRS Select, who now closed down, Brian Walker, who's now the last NRS closed down in Canada. And I started over there in Oak Bridges. And Brian had a listing that was getting a ton of action on it. So he couldn't handle it all. So what he did as a broker was he said, look, I'm gonna have a fun competition. Whoever closes or brings me a buyer on this will get a free ad in the local paper. I can't remember for how long. Being competitive, I went after it. So what would happen is the leads would come in, and we would take the leads and we would close them, right? So how many showings, and he would systematically send it out to whoever wanted to participate. Lo and behold, I was this close to winning because I showed the property and my client automatically wanted to do an offer. Now, just to rewind a little bit, the home doesn't even exist today. It's around the Puccini and King area. Now it's all brand new homes in there. The property, I think, used to be Prince Arthur or Prince Andrew, something. It was Prince something, but the street no longer exists. So I showed it. It was one of those old sugar shacks, and it had a full basement, which was surprising for that time. But the basement had, and I'm not even exaggerating, the height of this table filled with water. Filled. Yeah, it was brutal. The property, they were asking $125 at the time. Now that was a reasonable, it is a good deal, but it was a reasonable price. It wasn't like a super deal. So a home, what are sugar shacks going for today in Richmond Hill? I don't even think they exist anymore. But I'm pretty sure a sugar shack will go for about $700. Just to give you the parallel of, what the price is meant. So let's assume this, was a decent price, so it's about $550, $600. If they're going for about $700, $800 today, right? So it was a good price, but it was a good deal, but really it was not. So this client, whom I just met off of the ad, showed him the property. He said, perfect. I want to help my brother out. He's in financial trouble. This price point is perfect for me. Let's do an offer. He was going to do some work on the house. And I said, you know what, Jim? I said, I gladly put an offer together. But before we do that, because you made the decision very, very quickly, I want you to walk through the house with me one more time. And if you are prepared to take on a project like this, I will go ahead and do an offer. Okay? So I showed him, look at this over here. This is an active crack. Did you see over here? There's a crack over here that's telling me something wrong with the foundation. Not to mention the pool, the indoor pool that you have downstairs. We can't even go downstairs to inspect, right? And so I went through all the list. Here are the pros, here are the cons. Obviously, in this situation, the cons were longer than the pros. But what I said to him is, this can be a very good deal if you are prepared and you are capable, like if you have the ability to repair, you know, for not too much money, a home like this. He looked at me and he said, he goes, you know what, Sandra, you're right. This might be a little bit more than I anticipated. He goes, you know what, give me a couple of days and I'll get back to you. I said, no problem. I had the offer. Remember, he was ready to go back to the office to sign. I had it, but I stopped the process. Lo and behold, a couple of days go by and I don't hear from him. And one of my other colleagues comes in and does the offer. And I'm like, you know, I missed out on that. So they closed that property. That property had so many problems. And the town wouldn't even let them demolish it because of whatever bylaws were happening at that time. So guess what the buyer had to do? They had to lift that house, remove the foundation, rebuild the foundation, and then drop the house back on it. This is a sugar shack of a home. What are you rebuilding a foundation on this thing for? Aluminum siding built in the, you know, wartime. What a disaster. So was that a good deal for that buyer? No. So I saw that and I was like, okay, I dodged that bullet, but I lost a client. I really could have used that money. So this was around end of June, July. October comes around and we're doing a pumpkin giveaway. And who shows up? And I remember it like now. I was standing behind the desk because everybody was somewhere, I can't remember, and I grabbed the phone. And Jim walks in. I goes, oh, he says to me, I said, oh, Jim, I said, you came, and he came with his kids, and I said, oh, this is amazing. I said, you're here to pick a pumpkin. And the little girl's, yeah, I want to pick a pumpkin. So awesome. And Jim goes, yeah, well, yeah, that's a nice thing. He goes, but I actually came to see you, and I'm glad that you're actually here. He said to me, I've got to purchase a home, and I got to sell my home. And you were so honest with me, and I only want to deal with you. So I went on to do a lot of business with this guy. So I double-ended the purchase for his new home because I knew one of my neighbors was selling, it expired. So I got him into that property. I double-ended that one. I sold his house, and then he went on to invest with me. And then at the end, he purchased my home as well. So I did 6 deals with this guy. 6 deals versus that one. That imagine if I had closed it. I closed it. I could have just shut my mouth and said. So sometimes it's okay to list the pros and the cons. And if the cons are higher than the pros, it's okay. Just tell them. Let them know. Because clients are totally fine with certain things. It's when they are familiar with what is going on. Okay, if they're familiar, they know there's no surprises. I'll give one last story about that and then we'll move on because the Ben Franklin close, we're going to use it in an example. There was a piece of land that was being sold in Oak Ridges and it's now where the Harveys is at Yonge and King. We all know that little corner in there, right? So many years ago, it was a parcel of 10 acres with a small little convenience store on there, which I think the little convenience store facing King is still on there, Pickwick or something like that. Yeah, and so many agents attempted to sell that thing. Great opportunity, corner of Yonge and King, future potential, blah, blah, blah. And many agents sold it and deal fell apart, sold and deal fell apart. And why? Because 10 acres, probably 8 acres of it was marsh. It was very wet, peat moss and sand. And so as soon as the buyer figured that out, forget it, they were done. They were done. So along comes the guy that was mentoring me, Pat Janetta, back in the day there at NRS, and he lists it. And I could hear him on the phone talking to people. I could hear him on the phone. He was saying that, oh yeah, no, it's a great opportunity, great spot, this and that, you know, Yonge and King, you know, future 10 years, this is fantastic. He goes, you know, the property though has about two acres that is, you know, very easy to develop, and the rest of it is, you know, is marsh and is this, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but you know what? That's why you're getting, you know, 10 acres in this area for just under $1 million. He sold it, firm. And I was shocked. I said, Pat, I'm surprised. You're telling people about the problems He goes, yeah, well, I'm listing the good and I'm listing the not so good. Like this, there's no surprises. The problem is if someone is surprised, that's then when the problem is going to arise, okay? So use the Ben Franklin close. It's okay to list the cons. It's okay to list the pros. It's okay if the cons outweigh the pros. Just allow the client to make that decision for themselves, okay? So how would we do a Ben Franklin close? You're showing me a home. Anybody, or maybe you can use an example of your own client. How would you do it? Pros and cons.
Oh, it happened to me yesterday.
Share that with us. Tell us.
That was basement for rent of one of my good friends, just arrived from Iran. So that was in a good location, very close to Young, because they just arrived 2 days ago. They don't have any vehicle. So very close to the English course they want to take. Everything was fine. But what I found was the con list was quite longer than pros. I found the fence at the same side of the entrance of the basement is broken, and the next land is a vacant land, so sooner or later that would be under construction.
Yeah.
And then raccoons or coyotes or everything can come in.
Yeah.
And then I saw a dehumidifier over there, so I opened that and I saw it's full of water. So blah blah. I saw empty beer glasses in the yard, at the backyard, so I found the landlord is going to sit there all over the night and morning. So I just did exactly the same thing. I sat in the car and I wrote them for myself, and I told them, in my opinion, we should go for another one. I know it's very close to your relatives, it's close to me.
Right.
Just don't.
Right, and don't they, and they respect you for that, didn't they? Yeah.
So the next one, when I told them this one is a good one, they just accepted and I sent the offer.
Okay.
The same night I sent the offer because I was sure the second one was the good one.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And there it is. Ben Franklin close is actually a very good way to help build trust, because when you list it like that and you're saying, oh well, you know what, these are my thoughts, you know, but you are the one that's purchasing. You have to feel comfortable. If you don't, or if you do, that's completely up to you. But here's the information. Okay, that's what people need from us. So the Ben Franklin close would be take their hand close, okay? That's where you're leading them, you're taking their hands, you're guiding them through the process, all right?
This is the way that my dad chose my mother to get married.
Amir, just to your point, you might want to use the Ben Franklin close then when choosing a woman. And of course, obviously, the pro would be she works 2 or 3 jobs, right?
You start with
it.
the question, are you okay with working 2 and 3 jobs?
If you want to close her, that's right. What are your thoughts? Well, wait a second, we got to go a little bit slower. In your opinion, what are your thoughts on working 2 or 3 jobs? And then once you get the opinion, you say, well, then would you be okay with working 2, 3 jobs? Then you go in for the hard close.
You can do the Ben Franklin too, right?
The sad thing
Bro.
is always it's just vice versa. So.
Well, that's because you're not thinking with your head.
I know.
And we're just going to go on to the next one. Fishing for objections close.
So what do you mean by that? The last
Oh, that's
thing is
right.
they're
He's trying to close me, ladies and gentlemen. He's trying to close me.
Means I'm thinking by my heart.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think?
You wish.
Well, what were you thinking?
What were you thinking?
What did you think?
What did you think?
Do you have any other part?
That's all. I wasn't referring to that in the least.
Get out of here.
She's not here, so we can joke. All right, fishing for objections. Tell me. You had something to add to this?
No,
Or this is something separate? All right.
About the pros and cons. Sometimes maybe our opinion is not
Oh, you got that right.
Actually, it's something that in my opinion is cons.
Well, this is-
would be cons, or how can be.
Pros and cons list from their point of view, not ours.
Oh, I thought they are based on facts.
Yeah, I would base it on
Well,
facts
both.
too, but it is
Not
both,
opinion.
you're right, okay,
If
so I'm
it's
glad,
like a
I'm glad you
preference
raised
of-
that.
If they want like a big lot or a small lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big lot could be more value, but they want a small lot.
Exactly. And then the other thing too is going back to the example of my client. If you are comfortable with these challenges, because I don't know how much, you can put, if I had to look at this, I wouldn't be able to repair this, I would walk away. Like, that's how you explain it, but this is not my decision. You have to be comfortable with this. For instance, and not only that, but sometimes, yes, based on what they're saying, but also the fact that you mentioned raccoons or there's beer glasses back here, we have to be cautious of these things. Sometimes they need us to do that, right? Because they haven't thought about it, and that's why they've hired us, right? So now let me remove it from us for a moment. It's now a dentist. Okay? I go to a dentist, my tooth is bothering me. My dentist is going to give me opinions, his opinions. And some of those things I have no clue about because I have not studied that. So I will give thoughts that might be something that they didn't think about. But I would word it very cautiously, say, as long as you're comfortable with this, it's a very good deal, right? But you have to be, cautious about when you're creating the cons list. You have to be cautious. You have to say, because, sometimes it could be even a fact. But like what Adam said, it could be a big backyard and we're thinking this is a great deal.
Great pro.
Yeah, but for them, it's not because.
They don't want to meet.
Right. Okay, they're not looking for that or for whatever reason, right? So we could, in a situation like that, you could say, typically one would look at a larger lot to be a better investment. However, you indicated you wanted a smaller lot. So this would go for this in 5-10 years, but you have to weigh out what is important to you. You just expose it to them and you take their instructions and you run with it. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, for this example, yes, but actually I have now a client, they want to buy the condos and they are asking always me which building is better or what is the future for the future price or how is the growth of the price in the 2 years, 3 years. And
you tell them, if I may interrupt you just for a moment, you tell them that you left your crystal ball and magic wand at home. Okay. Sometimes what they're looking for is a little unrealistic. All you can do is say, well, based on these numbers here, one can predict. Okay. Except we don't know, especially condos. The condo market is very volatile, very. Like when we look at Richmond Hill, for instance, we can predict certain things because we're not saturated. Okay, we're not saturated. My daughter's looking to invest, okay? And so she was looking in Vaughan because, someone that she spoke to, some financial financial advisor said to her, I could choke them for it, it's a great idea to invest in Vaughan. And I said, yes and no, okay? It depends on what your objective is. What's your objective? And she told me, well, then you want to go somewhere where the square footage, the price per square foot is a little bit lower and it's going to increase. And I gave her examples because we flipped condos. Grand Palace was one, Sky City was another. When I purchased Sky City, the price per square footage was something ridiculous, like $500, $525 a square foot when I purchased. Today, I'm looking at about $750, $800 a square foot. So I was explaining that to her. Having said that, I said, like when you talk about these things, that can change in an instant. Right now, that's what's happening. All we need is for them to put 5 more condos here and you're done. That's it, you're done. Now, from 800 a square foot, we're gonna go back down because now suddenly we're the older building. So this is how you would explain it to the client, because then they are better able to make a decision. So now you've got to decide, and you have to be mindful that whenever you spend, you got to keep an eye on future that's happening in here. But for now, this is a good investment. But you know what? It's a tough. Condo is very, very volatile. Very volatile. When it comes to investments, they're better when they're short-lived. Better when they're short-lived, in my opinion. But then again, that's just my opinion, right? But if you can go in and flip, because before the town
before you get a smell of something else and you miss out.
The short-lived, you mean sell it soon after?
Yeah, like flip them as quickly as possible, right? Or flip it before the other project starts digging or, has been launched. Like you have to be mindful of these things. When it comes to investments, and I'm gonna sound like an old Italian lady, the best is a little piece of land. You cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong with a little piece of land, even if you gotta go north. And people, we don't stop, because right now it is a buyer's market, okay? Let's be realistic. And we don't lift our head out of the mud as realtors and go looking for other opportunities. If you take your clients further north, further east, further west, this is where it starts being better. So anything along the 400, anything along the 404, right? Anything along the 401, 407. You can't go wrong. Sorry, you're not welcome.
I know, I never am.
But it's a question of, right? Like, but then you have to, like, I remember selling in Keswick. And people made fun of me for selling in Keswick. That was 20 years ago. Oh, you took them out to the Wick. Oh, that's Inbreed County. Oh, Inbreed County. Go take a look at Inbreed County today. That all my clients that purchased with me 20 years ago are kissing my feet. Okay? And so I say now we gotta move, Sutton, Virginia, Beaverton, if you're going along the 404. If you're going along the 400, Barrie, oh my God, what is happening in Barrie? You wanna invest in a condo? Go to Barrie. Because that's still in its baby stages right now. So if you're wanting a piece of land, Springwater, is it Coldwater? Yeah, Coldwater. Clearwater is Florida. Coldwater. Go to cottage country, Muskoka. Oh my God, the stuff that's happening there. But before you go, as realtors, you've got to do your due diligence. Because I do a lot of work in Perry Sound. And the reason why I do a lot of work in Perry Sound is because I've gotten to know a lot of the locals there. So I know the guy I know the mayor. I know him personally. I can call him up, hey, Jamie, what's going on over here? Well, yeah, we're planning on doing this. There's a subdivision coming in. Okay, good. And the economic development guy, I know the guy. So I know what the future is. So when I see a property that person that I know that wants to sell for 200, I want to get my hands on it. Okay, because I know the future. So as realtors, we need to do our due diligence. It's not a question of saying, oh yeah, just go over here and here. No, you got to go over there and you got to be able to lend credibility to what you're doing. But pay attention, because you know what? Those properties, when you go further north, are the future of the condo developments. But it's like having a bank account. So I was mentioning it to my daughter just to share this with you. I told her about the property that I can unload it for 200 because I know the guy that holds the mortgage and he wants to cash out. So he's bumping them out. He's bumping the person that he sold it or that did the mortgage with him. I know that I can pick that up for 200. And so I said it to my daughter, oh, my mom, I'm so far. And I go, well, yeah, but I'm going to sit down and share the plan with you. Then you decide. Okay? Because I said, when you're doing these kind of investments, they are bank accounts. How much money are they going to get on their bank account? Plain and simple. And that's how you approach an investment. Okay? But know your information, because if you remember what we were saying, we were talking about knowing what to do with the client, right? Asking questions. So now the client, we're about to talk about fishing for objections. If you don't have the information to support, you cannot handle the objections. You better know what you're talking about, guys. So the market has quieted a little bit. Yes, it has. Perfect. This is the time that we have to really get to know our craft. This is the time to do it. This is the time, especially summertime, that things quiet a little bit more too. Get to know the stuff. Get in your car. Go drive. Go explore different areas. Go check out these towns. Talk to the people at the town. What's going on? I remember an old rule of thumb for investments was, if there's a Tim Hortons or a McDonald's, go talk to the economic development of the town. Go check them out. They've done their studies already. So you know that. Within a certain radius, you know eventually they're going to be building homes, because that's what these people do. Like when I say these people, I'm talking McDonald's and Tim Hortons, okay? So do your due diligence,
So now, let's segue that nicely or with fishing for objections. So here, we're asking for an objection. Brandon, I've heard you in action. You're damn good at this, okay? Fishing for an objection would be, so let me read it here. If you've gone through the discovery phase of sales, right? So we've asked questions, we've got them going on showings, things like that, right? And you're confident that the customer understands that your product or service addresses their needs, right? Because we have to build that trust. Then ask for the sale by asking for an objection. So is there any reason why we can't proceed with blah, blah, blah? Okay, this approach allows the customer to raise any final objections, if they have one, without saying no to the sale, right? Because we don't want to close prematurely. Sometimes we can close. You can hard close a client all through the process, right? And they will listen. They'll go, okay, okay. But then you close, and the next day they've got buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Oh Lord! And you know what I've never seen, and I've experienced it a couple of times now. I've seen is seller's remorse when the market was so fast. I've never seen that before. Okay, that was a first. So you want to know if people are comfortable. Now, the phrase that I use, are you comfortable at this point in time? Are you comfortable authorizing me to work on your behalf? So you fish, 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 fish. Anybody have anything else that they'd like to add? How would you fish for an objection? How would you fish?
Oh, is there anybody else you can talk to and has impact on you
perfect.
for your final decision? You want to talk to them first and then come back to me?
Perfect. There's a perfect example. Excellent. Anything else?
Is there anything else you need to ask that I haven't addressed or?
Perfect. Any question marks popping in your head? I want to make sure, as a responsible realtor, I want to make sure that I'm addressing everything. You know, no question is a silly question. So there's another one, right? Anything else? Pretty straightforward, right? And I know sometimes it's hard to come up with them last minute, and then you're gonna leave class. It's like, shoot, I needed to do that with that client. I should have asked her, right? If there is anything, just shoot me an email, okay? And I'll get to you guys. This one here is a soft close. Why is it a soft close? Fishing for objections. It's a soft close. Why? We're testing the water. We're testing. We're poking the bear.
You're
We're
not
seeing.
actually closing.
You're not
asking
actually
what
closing.
is preventing them based on overcoming that objection, then you close.
Exactly. Perfectly said. Thank you. You're holding their hand. All right. Okay, good stuff, guys. All right, level with me, close. Who's gonna read? Give me a break so I can actually take a sip of water here. Who can read this one? Level with me, close. Oh, I gotta get onto the next page for everybody else at home. There we go. Level with me, close. Who's gonna read it? Thank you.
As you approach the end of the selling process and the customer says they want to think about it, ask them to get to their point, level with me. Have I failed to show you the value that you will receive from this investment? Then be quiet.
Excellent. Okay, does that make sense? So it's a simple phrase, level with me, and then boom, 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 boom. Okay, this is just an example. Have I failed to show you? You know, is there something that I have missed? So in fish, it's almost like fishing objection if you stop and think about it, right? So it's kind of like what you were saying, Michelle, where it's, you know, level with me. Is there something I missed, right? Now, depending on the situation, saying level with me might be a little too harsh, and fishing it'll be a little softer, right? But level with me. I've had some agents go in, this is after the fact, where they missed out on a client and because they didn't ask all the questions, you know, so level with me. You know, for instance, a listing presentation, you go in, someone else gets the listing. When you thought you had it in the bag, call the person up and say, hey, listen, congratulations, I noticed, you know, I wanted to thank you for your time, and, you know, level with me. Right? Was there something that I failed to, you know, what could I have done different to help you? Right? Level with me. There's different ways that you can do this, okay? Hard close, soft close, level with me. Hard close or soft close? It's a soft close, yeah, because you're pulling information, right? You're trying to figure, like Adam said, repeat what you said, that was perfect.
You're pulling the objection out of them,
And then you
overcoming
close
it,
them.
then follow it up with the close.
Perfect, okay, excellent. Okay, direct close, who wants to read that? Who can I get to read? You already took a turn. Rebecca, how about I voluntold you? Thank you,
Okay.
darling, for voluntolding.
You're very welcome. You knew by me looking down, I was like, don't
I
pick
know,
me,
I
don't
like
pick
that,
me.
because those are the ones I pick.
Next time I'm just gonna stare at you directly.
I know, that's a little intimidating, so I would look somewhere else.
No, I know. When you have addressed the customer's concern and you are confident that she knows the value of your product or service, then pose the question directly. So, Mary, are you ready to place an offer? Use this closed-ended yes or no question only if you are very confident that the answer will be affirmative.
Okay, now, one thing I want to say, because, can you say this again to me? So Mary, tell me that phrase.
So, Mary, are you ready to place an offer?
You upswing.
Oh, downswing.
Right, okay, and I know most of you guys know between the difference of an upswing and a downswing. My Persian friends, upswing very naturally, okay? And it's interesting, which works in Persian, in Farsi, but it doesn't work in English. It's, Mary, are you ready to place an offer? Down. Okay, downswing. If you have difficulty, Mary, are you ready to place an offer? Okay, do that nod offer. It'll get you downswinging, okay? And the reason why you want to downswing is because you want to sound authoritative and confident. Because the minute that I have a question and I don't sound confident is the minute they're going to eat me alive. So I'll give you an example, okay? So my son is Daniel. He's way too big for me to discipline now, but I'm going to use him as an example. So here's an upswing. Daniel, go to your room. Daniel, go to your room. Versus Daniel, go to your room. Daniel, go to your room. Now, I'm saying the same thing, but remember that 20%, that is tone, right? Which one sounds more authoritative? Daniel, go to your room. Or Daniel, go to your room.
The first one?
You see, that my Farsi friends always choose upswinging. I'm going to ignore you ladies for a second. Daniel, go to your room. Daniel, go to your room.
Yeah, the second one is more powerful, I believe.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I know with Farsi, you upswing a lot because it's very melodic. Okay, so I always, when I'm training my agents, my Persian agents, they're always, oh no, the upswing is more. And in English, it's not, right? But in Farsi, don't change it. Don't try to downswing in Farsi, okay?
Okay.
Keep your thing, do your thing. It's just if you're speaking to someone that's English speaking, use the downswing, okay? Don't change it for your Persian clients because then you're gonna really mess up the dynamics, okay?
Actually, I think it doesn't matter to the language. It works for everyone. It's like a kind of hypnotism you do.
It
The
is.
second voice, the tone you use, it's just more magically works, I believe. The second one, the first one is like ordinary and you order and
Yeah.
some people may don't like it.
Yeah,
And however, maybe Persian
And that's a
people train to be ordered and then do their
that's a
job.
good point.
But the hypnotism work for everyone.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And sometimes you want to use the upswing and you want to use it to your advantage when you're doing a direct close, okay? So the direct close here, in this situation, we want to downswing it because we want to be authoritative, we want to be confident, we want to lead them in the right direction, right? This is very much a hard close. The hard close has to be delivered properly, otherwise it'll be a big fail, okay? So now, if I want to do a hard close and I want them to think, I want to instill doubt, then I upswing. So for instance, if Rebecca, I'm attempting to close you and I say, what agent did you choose? Or what agent did you use before or whatever? And you say Amir, and I say, Amir, how'd you happen to pick that agent? okay? That's an upswing. I'm okay to do that. Why? Because I'm instilling doubt. You weren't thinking about selling the home yourself now, were you? Now it's okay to instill doubt, okay? Now it's okay to upswing. Now then you put the neurolinguistic programming in it. You weren't thinking about selling the home yourself now, were you? Okay, now you've just finalized it. So Mary, you're ready to do an offer now, isn't it? Right? That's a direct close and get that body language going in there, okay? Because you're gonna have to close. So no when you don't want no, when you want them to say no, yes when you want them to say yes, okay? All right, now I didn't say anything different. You weren't thinking about selling the home yourself now, were you? Well, didn't say anything. You weren't thinking about selling the home yourself now, were you? Right? It's nothing wrong with what I've said. Or Amir, how'd you happen to pick that agent? Didn't say anything wrong. But the minute I go, Amir, how'd you happen to pick that agent? I now put doubt that you shouldn't have chosen Amir. Okay? Poor Amir, you're getting it all. Thank you for coming in today. But that's the difference. Does everybody understand that? Make sense? Okay. And it's okay if it takes practice. Videotape yourself when you're practicing or voice record yourself. You want to hear yourself. And again, I know you're going to sound ridiculous. There's going to be times where you're going to be feeling embarrassed. Who cares? Okay. Do it because it's going to only sharpen your skills. I remember my coach and mentor used to tell me to do it in front of the mirror. We didn't have the same kind of recording devices that were there back then. And I felt ridiculous. As a matter of fact, he purchased all of us mirrors for our desk. We had to have a mirror where we would make our calls. Right by our phone was where the mirror was. So you could see yourself and say, ooh, I got a smile on my face. It was a constant reminder. So it's very important. Today we have these devices. I'll never forget one of the agents I coached, and unfortunately he's now passed away. But I think of him often and fondly. He was a good agent and a good man. And I was training him. He was really, really, really strong prospector. And I was training him how to do it. And I said, okay, Wayne, you're going to go off and you're going to record yourself. Get yourself like a tape recorder. And then bring it to me, because tape recorder is what we had back then. We didn't have this, right? So, and then bring it to me. So he shows up for coaching one time with the Fisher Price from his kids. A Fisher Price recorder. It worked, it did the trick, but I'll never forget him for it. I have lots of fond memories of this guy. He was that determined that he stole his kid's toy. So the practice. But the more that you do that, the better it is, because it's, you know, the brain is a fascinating tool. So if you practice something over and over, it thinks it's actually done it. So when you're now in front of a client and you go to deliver that message after practicing it, the brain thinks that it's automatically, you know, performed this task before and you don't have anxiety from doing it. Okay? All right, alternate choice close is one of my favorite. All right, so this one here is similar to the assumptive close. Rather than asking for the prospect's business directly, you ask them which option they prefer. For example, you could close with, when would you like to view the home? Which works best for you? Wednesday evening or Friday afternoon? So basically, alternative close has to do with giving them two choices, 3 tops. Don't go beyond 3, you'll confuse them. But 2 choices is the best. Why? Because human beings are interesting, we're a little bit stupid. Give us 2 choices, we'll choose one. Okay? So now let's look at that. You know, moms or parents in the room, when you ask someone, what would you like to have for dinner? What would you like to eat for dinner? What is that? Oh,
That's the most dreaded question.
Right. Right? Okay, exactly. You'll have an hour of an argument with your kid. And instead, if you say to your kid, what would you like for dinner? Would you like pizza or pasta? Done. Right? They'll pick one. Because I remember when I used to do it and I didn't close my kids effectively. Can we have Chinese, Mom? I'm not prepared for Chinese. I wasn't prepared for Chinese food, right? So there it is. So close them, alternate close. Now this can work in negotiations as well, because a lot of times this particular close is a little bit misunderstood. Okay, thanks to our dear friend Mike Ferry, who only uses this to book an appointment. You can use it in a negotiation. Okay, and just how? So let's talk. So I'm negotiating an offer with you. How could you use the alternative close to get me to sign back? I'm the buyer. What can you do? Can anybody give me an example?
So you're a buyer agent?
I'm a
You have
buyer. I'm a buyer.
You're a buyer?
Mhm.
Your agent wants you to sign back the offer.
So let me make it a little bit easier. So you guys are my agent, okay? I've said to you that I want to purchase the home. I'm just going to toss. I'm going to purchase the condo, let's say, for $350. Okay, $350. I want all appliances. Okay, that's my offer. So the seller obviously wants to come back at a higher price. Let's assume that the price that they're asking is $385 or something like that. Okay. The seller says that they will give me, so the sign back is $385 with appliances. Well, I'm not happy with that because I'm at $350, right? But the seller, if I was now the agent, I would say, okay, so $385 with the appliances, then, you know, $360 without appliances. See how you start using? So there's choice one, choice number two. Which one would you like? Right now, obviously the numbers are like so crazy, right? But my buyer might choose this because you know what? For this price, they'll buy their own appliances. But do you see where you give them two choices every time you do a sign back? So when you're dealing with a client that's difficult and that knows it all, do two sign backs. Okay? Two sign backs. So $385 with appliances, $360 without appliances. And then when you sign back, when you see someone negotiating like that with you, you're going to go back. Obviously, you put this one here on paper. You put the higher one on paper, then verbally you communicate the other one. Okay, my clients have signed back at $385 with the appliances. However, they'd also consider $360 without the appliances. Okay, you keep going back and forth as an alternate close. So it's often misunderstood, this particular close, because it's overused in giving choices about dates and about showings and you know things like that. So you can use it even a step further in negotiating. Okay, any questions, guys? No, perfect. You see, I'm fishing for objections. What's that? Awesome. Okay. Suggestion close. Oh wait, let's rewind. The alternative choice. What type of close is that? Is that a hard close, soft close, or take their hand? Take their hand. Take their hand. Exactly. Because you're leading them. You're leading them down the garden path, right? So, and remember the idea of sell the pen, right? And if we recall, Sharon gave me choices. She kept giving me choices. Every time she came back at me, she kept giving me another choice, right? So how often do you use it? Often, okay. And you said something about what's important, economy or luxury, right? You kept giving me choices. You kept coming back and forth with a choice. What color is important to you? I have red, blue, black. Which one do you prefer? Okay, so always give choices. Always give choices and they'll choose one. Okay? All right, so back to suggestion close. If you have a good rapport with the prospect, they will view you as a trusted expert. We now know that, right? And of course, I can't drive that point home. Trust is everything today, guys. Trust is 40% of the process. Did you know that? When I first started in real estate, 40% of the process was closing. Things have changed tremendously. Today it's 40% trust. So trust is important. A suggestion close is a good approach. You could close with, based on what you have told me about your needs and wants, I would suggest you view the property for a second time. Place an offer and see how it goes. Does this work for you? Okay? Make sense? That's pretty simple, straightforward. Now, is that hard close, soft close? Take their hand. Take their hand, all right? Urgency close. Oh my God, this one's a popular one. This is like or in some cases, they call this take candy away close, right? So when you take the candy away, everybody wants it more, right? Anybody start a diet, now all of a sudden all you think about is the food that you can't eat, right? So the minute you take something away, guys, when the girls play hard to get and they take something away from you, don't you want it more? We'll leave it be at that. We'll leave it be at that. Take away clothes works, okay? Or urgency clothes works. Okay, it works. So you're creating a sense of urgency and you're putting pressure. You're basically telling them that it's for a limited time only. You know, so multiple offers, for instance. That's a perfect time to use the urgency close. And it's, so explain it. Anybody been in a multiple offer situation? What do you say to the client when you, as soon as you go into multiple offer, what do you say to the client? Client wants to go in 50 grand under asking. And there's 5 other offers.
Don't laugh, that's happened.
Yeah, I know.
I got it.
I know it's happened. That's why I'm like, oh my God, bless you. That's why I say, oh my God. So what did you do? How did you, and you got the deal. So how did you do that?
It came down to closing. We were very flexible with close. So I told this, I presented in person, the other offers didn't. Which I think helped seal the deal.
Sure it does.
I gave them some backstory about my buyers and said why they came in at this price. But we're very flexible in terms of close, and the sellers happen to need like a 6-month close, which was perfect because we still have to sell the house.
There's value in that for them.
We didn't end up going in. I think we ended up coming up still about 30,000 in price,
Which is still very good.
Yeah. But
considering, you know.
we got it done.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Anybody else where they were in a situation, and you probably got them to come up more because there were other offers on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I've been in situations where the first thing I say to my client is I paint that picture of urgency. You are one of 10 offers. We no longer have negotiating power. What is your best price that you'd like to go in at? I wish I had negotiating power. I don't. So if you feel comfortable proceeding, give me your best price. And if not, then we'll find something else. We'll move on. But it doesn't hurt to give it a go, right? Because then now you can go with the suggestion close. You got nothing to lose by giving it a go, right?
We'll also flip it on the opposing party, so your client feels like they're still in control and you're not putting them in the hot seat. So we'll say, if we put the offer now, we'll give them a shorter irrevocable, forcing them to make the decision, and then they don't feel so pressured because they think it's coming from them.
They come, yeah, exactly. Mothers come around. Who are you looking for?
Us.
Yeah, that's her cue.
Well, that's fun. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you guys. Nice to see you. Bye. I like that mothers come around. She's a good friend of mine. Bye, guys.
Sandra, I didn't get this specifically what he suggested.
Oh, okay. So what he would say, because he's putting urgency, but on a different side. So it's my understanding that they're creating a situation for multiple offer, or I've heard that other offers are coming in. So let's do your offer now and give them a short irrevocable and get them to take a look at your offer before the other offers come in. So you create that urgency, right? So there's a couple of ways to create that urgency, and those are 2 examples there. But, you know, the market is so hot right now. This price is such a good price. You don't want to miss out. I suggest that you go ahead and do an offer before someone else comes in, because, you know, before someone else comes in. Here's the other thing, too, what I was talking about, that land out in Perry Sound that I know I can pick up for $200,000. The minute that people start finding out about it, there's going to be a little bit of a frenzy around that. So I want to act now. I feel that sense of urgency because I know that once the town implements certain things, then that property is going to double. I know it is going to double. And I won't tell you guys which one it is. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I would. If anybody wants to know, I'll let you know. So that's the urgency clause, or close, I should say. Urgency close. Hard, soft, take their hand.
Soft. It's kind of a mix of hard and soft.
It's kind of a mix of all 3 of them if you think about it, right? Because you're taking their hand, you're guiding them. You can approach it softly, right? And you can approach it directly. You know, like if you remember my first example, I said, oh, we're in multiple offer situation. We don't have any negotiating power. Give me your best price. That's a direct, that's hard.
That's hard.
Right? But other ways could be soft, and then in other ways it's taking their hand. So it's really, it's a combination of things, right? It's a combo of things. Very good, guys. Yes, close. This is also realtor's best friend, the yes close, okay? The yes close is you ask them several questions where the answer is easy. It's an easy yes, okay? And then, I'm not gonna read this because I wanna just tell you guys the yes close is getting them to say yes to you. The more that they say yes to you, the more they're gonna work with you. Okay, so you know when you're talking to a stranger, anybody do a sign call or like they call in on one of your signs, right? Okay, so role play it with me. So if I'm calling, you're calling me, okay? So, will that work? I'm not so sure. Let's give it a go. It's not trying to, which side should I be to really illustrate this? So let me pretend I'm the agent, okay? So Rebecca, you call me. And so the first thing would be, I would say, hi, this is Sandra from Royal LePage. I'm returning your call. What would you say to me?
Can you give me some more information on the property?
Oh, absolutely. Sounds like you're looking to purchase a home. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. I got her to say the first yes. Okay. Well, this is a great property. It's located in Richmond Hill. I know that she knows that it's in Richmond Hill because she's calling me from the side. Are you looking to purchase in Richmond Hill?
Probably yes.
Okay, excellent. And yeah, it's a great location in Richmond Hill. You saw where it was located, is that right?
Yeah, I drove by it.
Okay, perfect. There's my third yes.
Should I do my difficult?
I know, but you know what? No, you're not, because this is how it is, right? And so now I'm being a little bit facetious, right? But you see how easy it is to get someone to say yes? But you got to play with certain things because you know certain information. She's calling because she's seen the property, right? She's seen it. And then I would say, yeah, it's a great property. It's got this, it's got that, and it's got a large kitchen. What type of kitchen are you looking for?
Modern.
Modern. Oh my goodness. Well, this kitchen has a it is modern, and it's got some granite counters. Is that what you're looking for?
Modern or quartz?
Quartz. Okay, fantastic. So you're gonna love this modern kitchen. And you just keep going on with that, okay? And wherever there's an opportunity to get her to say yes, you get yes. Now, sometimes you're negotiating and they're upset. Or do you ever see that? Like even with the kids, you know, the kids are starting to do a temper tantrum and you distract them. Oh, do you ever do that with the kids? Oh, look at the mommy hug. Oh, right? Like this, right? But you gotta distract the kids, right? So that's what you do, the distraction. So here's the distraction. So you're negotiating, they're going, no, 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 no. Oh, now you're like spiraling down. So then you stop for a moment and just say, oh my goodness, this weather is fantastic. Wouldn't you agree? I just looked out the window. I couldn't help it while we're chatting. I just realized the sun is shining out. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah. Yes. Yes, the weather's fantastic. I distract them. I get them to say yes on something that's totally different. Okay, but be very careful because you don't want to ever come across insincere when you're doing that. It's easy even to give a compliment when they're going, no, 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 no. And then you can stop and just say, oh my goodness, you know what? I'm so sorry I have to interrupt this conversation. I really love that top. Did you pick that up at Aritzia? If you know that it's an Aritzia top, get them to say yes. You know, that's a great top. You know, is this your favorite color? Distract them. Get them to say yes to you, okay? All right, and that's how you do it. Yes close is your best friend because the more yeses that you get, the more they're going to work with you. Okay, very important. The other thing too is encourage them to say yes by nodding your head gently. Don't be like this. Yes. If you're so desperate for a yes, yes. Just nod. Wouldn't you agree? Right? Wouldn't you agree? Just make the eye contact, nod your head, and automatically they would do it. Try it on your spouses, try it on your significant others, your kids, whoever. It's incredible what you'll get them to do. You'd like to vacuum, wouldn't you? You wouldn't mind helping mommy with the vacuuming, isn't it?
My daughter does that to me. She takes my
vacuum you?
Yeah, she takes my hand. You like that, no? No, I don't like that.
You must get her.
No, you like that. You are out of your
Must get
mind.
her. We must get her in sales. We gotta get her in real estate. How old is she?
11.
Okay, we got about 5-6 years.
She'll be fully trained and
By
ready to
then,
go.
she'll be ready to go. But you know what? Kids are the best negotiators. I remember sitting at a barbecue. This was a couple of years ago, and it was a retirement barbecue for a guy, and a bunch of people were there. And I was chatting with a couple, and their kids were playing down by the beach with the dog, and the little girl was loving the dog. So she comes up to the father and she says, "Daddy, are you allergic to dogs?" And he said, "No." She goes, "Okay, great. Can we get one?" I was like, she was fishing for the objection, and then she went in for a direct close. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh, when she's of age, can I train her for real estate?" And the guy, he walked right into it, unsuspecting, didn't even realize. It was awesome to watch. Okay, future close. This is when they defer us all the time. Does anybody get that? Oh, in the fall, maybe in the fall. Well, you know what? Yes, I have to sell, but I'm going to do it at this time, or I got to do it, and I'll do it at this time. The future, it's a big, huge procrastinator. That's them procrastinating. Okay,
What
so
does
there's
it mean? Don't use that big words.
Yep.
What's that?
putting it off.
Putting
Putting it off.
Procrastination.
I like that. Don't use these big words.
Oh, please.
It's like when you say you're gonna do it tomorrow and then tomorrow comes.
Spell it. Just
Oh
use
my
the
God.
one.
My apologies.
Accept
Procrastination means to put it off or to almost even ignore it. Like,
Okay.
for instance,
Got it.
you know, when it comes to doing my taxes, I procrastinate because
Oh,
I
got it.
don't enjoy
Now I
it.
won't forget it. I
Now
was
it's
the same.
Hey, okay, we procrastinate
The day
because we don't
before.
like
Okay.
it.
Do it now.
And there's always fear attached to when someone puts something off, because if you enjoy doing the task, you're gonna do it now, right? But it's not a question of lazy, it's a question of fear when someone puts something off. So this future close will help address that, okay? So let's see here. If they're not ready to close today, then they say they'll close in the future, right? Perhaps they want to think it over. Ask how much time they need. Ask if they may be ready to buy then. After thinking about this, they may be ready to close now. If not, do a calendar close so you can meet up the next time. Future close works by getting them to think in the present about the future. Hence bringing the future to now so that they can compress time, okay? And then there's some examples there at the bottom, but let's talk about this, because it's no different than the Rev Canada. We'll use that because everybody loves that. And I think we can all relate to how much, you know, and we procrastinate. I'm okay with using that word now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you kindly. We do put it off, right? Because we're afraid, or we don't want to do the task. We don't enjoy the task, so we put it off. We put it off. But if you say to that person, okay, well, what time were you hoping to finish your taxes then? Well, I can do it by the end of July. Okay, so then we'll do it by the end of July. May I ask you what is holding you back? Like, what would be the difference about finishing it today versus finishing it at the end of July? Now you'll find out if there's a legit problem as to why they're putting it off, or because they're afraid. Well, I've got to go in for surgery next week, so it'll give me a chance to do my surgery, heal, and then I'll do my taxes, right? Versus, oh, I just don't feel like dealing with it right now, right? So you're making them think, you're compressing the time and making them realize what's the difference between the present moment and the future, okay? If there is a legit reason, you've now helped them understand that, okay? So by saying that, then what type of close is this? Is this hard close, soft close, take their hand? Take their hand.
Oh my God, that was the last one. I'm still confused.
You're not confused. You're not confused. You just need time to process it. You just need some time to process it. Any questions for me, guys? Different strategies. What I've learned is in today's market, closing is so very important. So very important. if you guys have any challenges, if you have any questions about it, you want to, you know, set up some time with me to book a coaching session over, just email me, okay? Email me, coachsandra@gmail.com, back here too. We'll set up a time. If you're not close by to the office, it's not a big deal. You don't have to pop into my office. We can set up a very quick Zoom conference meeting. It's the best. I love using the conference because it just makes questions so easy to answer, makes meetings so easy. And that's it for me. Any questions or comments? We're good? You guys are now professionals? You guys get it? I know you do. You know, the funny thing is most of these things you're probably doing naturally anyways. You might have learned the odd thing here, but it's like, oh, I actually do that. Now I know I need to do more of that. Because most of us that are in sales, we close naturally. You know, it's something that we do very naturally, right? But when you now realize, oh my goodness, wait a second, that's a strategy that I need to do more of. It just helps with the sales process. Makes a difference. Well, good stuff. Thank you. So good to see everyone. And everyone at home, good to see you guys too. So I will see you guys later. And if I don't, have a wonderful summer. We're already in July. Kids are at home now. Who's got young kids at home? You got young kids at home? Yeah, see, I'm so beyond that stage that I don't even remember, you know, what it means. It's a change. It's a change of structure. It's hard when the kids are home. All right, guys, you take good care. We'll see you later. I'm going to stop the share on this thing.
Thank you for your time. Everything was excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I enjoy what I do. It's always fun. Our business is fun.
Yes.